CNN Plus was live for 30 days. So exactly 30 days from they went live till they shut down. So how did a $300 million bet only stay live for 30 days? That's what we're going to look at today. What the heck happened and what can we learn from it? This is Raw Startup. I'm the founder of Vivino, the world's largest wine app and wine community, with almost 60 million users around the world. In my over 20 years of experience as a founder, I've seen a lot and hopefully learned a lot. One of the ways to learn is to look at these failures. There are lessons to be learned. I've done a few of these videos, one on WeWork. It was not boring. One on Quibi, which actually has some similarities to CNN Plus. CNN Plus was not a traditional startup, more like a startup inside a corporation, something that's hard to do, and we'll look into that too. I've seen quite a lot of analysis on why CNN Plus failed. We have Megyn Kelly, Coldfusion, and even the Street Millenial. And I must say, I don't agree with most of them, so stay tuned for the real reason CNN Plus failed. Okay, confession time. I'm a little bit of a news buff. I like watching the news. I like having the news running in the background. So I was excited about CNN Plus to see what they could bring. I felt like I had some room in my life for more news. I actually managed to sign up for CNN Plus, did that on April 10th, and it didn't take many days then they said, hey, we're shutting down. I was a bit disappointed. The objective here is always to learn. Building a company, building a startup is always hard, and we do not want to kick people that are already lying down. We want to learn. Okay, a little bit of a backstory before we get into the reasons. After a horrible year, CNN had lost more than half of their viewers compared to the year before. They had to do something. On July 24th, 2021, CNN announced they were going to launch a new streaming service called CNN Plus. They were not exactly being creative with the name. They thought, hey, Disney called it Disney Plus. What should we call this thing? CNN Plus. Great idea. I hope you didn't pay too much to the creative agency to come up with that name. All that said, I didn't feel like this was a bad idea. This could be fine. I mean, it worked really well for Disney, so why not for CNN? CNN was going to launch sometime in Q1 of 2022, roughly a 9-month time from announcement to release. It's a little bit of a tight schedule. If you compare that to Disney Plus, they had a much longer period from announcement to release. In early 2022, they started announcing some big names on CNN Plus. Names like Kate Boldan, Wolf Blitzer, Jake Tapper, Fareed Zakir, Rex Chapman, Alison Roman, as well as my favorite NYU professor, Scott Galloway. So far, all good until February 2022, when longtime CEO of CNN, Jeff Zucker, left his job after more than 10 years at CNN. And he left just before they were going to launch one of their biggest bets ever. You think it's something up, but officially it was due to a workplace relationship. CNN Plus launched on March 29th to sort of mixed reviews. Here's one example from Vulture. While it's far too early to reach a definitive judgment, CNN Plus, in its formative phase, feels somewhat like Quibi of the streaming news. Oh no, they said Quibi already? Are they cursed? Make sure you check out my Quibi video, it's not pretty. Only 3 weeks in, on April 21st, CNN announced that they would cease operations of CNN Plus on April 30th. So, we're giving up already, it's over. Around 350 people lost their job. That is always sad. So that's what led to it all. Now let's have a look at the reasons why they failed. When we get to the end of the video, I'll tell you exactly what I think the primary reasons for failure is. And yes, I'm going to give you a few reasons here, but really it's one thing that killed CNN Plus, and we'll get to that. So I'm going to have a lot of opinions in this video, so if you agree, put it in the comments. If you disagree, put it even more in the comments. Number 1, the streaming market changed. From the time CNN announced CNN Plus till the day they launched CNN Plus, the streaming market had totally changed. The most important player in this space is Netflix. Everyone looks at them and how they're doing, and it has not been pretty. Netflix stock value almost decides what all the other companies in the streaming business are worth. So what did happen during this period? I can tell you it's not good. The value of Netflix went from 270 billion to 84 billion now. The value of Netflix fell 70%. So basically, whatever you're building at CNN Plus, it's actually worth 70% less than it was in July of 2021. So 70% less worth, and it might cost the same to build it. The math has changed, and it might not make sense to build it anymore. This did play a role in the fall of CNN Plus, but I don't think it's the main reason. And the more I researched this, the more I looked into this, it all comes down to one big reason. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Number 2, corporate startups often fail. Yes, this is sort of one of my pet peeves. I don't like it when corporations play startup or people from big companies play startup. It rarely works. Quibi is a great example of that. They thought they could build a startup in a new way. They could not, and they failed miserably. I'm not saying it never works, and for Disney, Disney Plus really worked, but I think they built it more as a service, not trying to be a startup inside Disney. CNN, on the other hand, really tried to make it a startup inside a corporation. They hired 400 people specifically to work on CNN Plus. There is a specific way to build a startup. How much money you raise, when you raise the money, independence, founder ownership, zero politics, and so on. You break all those rules and you will fail. Startups don't raise 300 million in their first round, and they most definitely don't ask McKinsey to run the company for them. That sounds like a startup that's very, very afraid of making mistakes. A true corporate startup. Yes, this is one of the reasons why CNN Plus failed, especially politics did play a role in the failure of CNN Plus. We'll get back to that in a second. Had they built this as a true startup, this would not have happened. Number 3, not enough traction. Yes, that's a good reason. They shut it down because nobody was buying the product. That's not entirely true either. First of all, if that's true, are you kidding me? 2 weeks in, and you expect all the numbers to be perfect? If not, we're shutting down. That's not how you build a product. CNN had planned to have 2 million paying users after 1 year. Not a crazy number considering that New York Times, a similar audience, has 10 million paying subscribers. After a couple of weeks, they had 150,000 paying subscribers. Not bad if your goal is within 1 year to hit 2 million. That seems realistic still. Obviously, things were not all good on the traction. A number came out that said they had around 10,000 daily viewers on the platform. That's a problem. It got even worse a few days later when the word was there was actually only 4,000 viewers daily on the platform. Sure, that's not great, but no need to panic. The market is saying that 150,000 are willing to pay, but only 10,000 are watching on a daily basis. Obviously not great, but the market is saying we're willing to pay, but you have to improve the product. But we're only 2 weeks in, so you have time to improve the product. This is where politics and corporate BS comes in. Basically where corporations fail as startup builders. They get spooked as soon as there's any sign of trouble. They run straight for the lifeboats. A real founder is all in and knows that they need to fix the product, not run away to save the career. With CNN Plus, there was a clear lack of startup mentality. I don't think traction was the real reason CNN Plus failed. The market was saying we're willing to pay, but there's no product market fit yet, which is fine. We're 2 weeks in. Number 4. Content was a bit off. Yes, I'm saying content was a bit off, and the content needed a bit of work. I love Scott Galloway, and he had a great show on there. But one thing did sort of break the content on CNN Plus. So when you think about what is CNN, what is CNN's DNA? It's live news. What was not on CNN Plus? Live news. I mean, that's a little bit weird. I was expecting live news, and what I got was a cooking show. Weird thing here is that the only way to get live news on CNN Plus was if you had it already. Kind of ridiculous. They would only give you live news if you already had it through your cable provider. Then why am I buying this product? It makes no sense, and it really felt like an amputated product. Yes, it's strange that MTV doesn't have music videos anymore, and just as strange that CNN Plus does not have live news. So this feels like a little bit of a half-assed streaming product. So why are we buying these streaming products? One big reason is because you can cut the cable. It is strange to launch a streaming product that requires you to have cable. That is weird. So did this contribute to their failure? Yes, I think it did. But there was still time. There was still time to fix it. We're still 2 weeks in. And now we're getting closer to the real reason why they failed. Number 5, total mismatch in strategy from new leadership. Yes, we are getting to the primary reason why CNN Plus failed. Let me explain. On February 1st, 2022, it was reported that AT&T was going to spin off Warner Media in a $43 billion deal. Wow, big deal, and funny how close it is in value to Elon Musk buying Twitter. Warner Media is the parent company that owns CNN, many other media companies such as HBO, Cartoon Network, and more. And now it's getting interesting. Discovery is taking over, creating a media giant. Putting it all together, we have even bigger media giant called Warner Brothers Discovery. Be cool, I'm getting to my point. They call it a merger, but the top management is coming from Discovery. David Zaslav, the former CEO of Discovery, would become the CEO of the new combined entity. I'm getting to the point, and this is where the trouble starts. So CNN is working on this big, ambitious project called CNN Plus. The question is, how does that match with the new leadership coming in? As it turns out, probably not very well. A little bit more background here that's important. A few months before the merger, HBO Max was actually combined their product with Discovery Plus. Now, this is important because it says a lot about the worldview of the new leadership. Let's have a look at the numbers. At the end of Q1, Discovery Plus had 24 million subscribers and HBO Max 77 global subscribers. For comparison, Netflix currently has 222 million subscribers worldwide, and Disney Plus has done incredibly well with 130 million subscribers. Now, they merged HBO Max and Discovery Plus because Discovery Plus was too small. In a world where Discovery Plus with 24 million subscribers is too small, where does that leave CNN Plus? Now CNN Plus looks like this small, tiny project that's unambitious and only hopes to get 2 million subscribers in the first year. It looks like something that really isn't room for, a side project, a niche product that will never get any attention from the big Warner Brothers Discovery. We might as well shut it down right now, and that's exactly what they did. I'm obviously speculating here, but I think this is what killed CNN Plus. If you disagree, put it in the comments. New management came in, and their worldview is that there will be 3 to 5 big streaming services in the world after it's all consolidated, and there will be no room for CNN Plus. Now, when we look at this list, the reasons are not equal. The final reason is really what killed CNN Plus. The other reasons support it. That's how I see it. It's all about the change in management and their worldview. It just didn't fit. So rather than looking at this as a flat list, I think it's more something like this. If you want more content just like this, please consider pressing like and subscribe so you won't miss any future videos. Thank you very much for watching. Now stop watching and go build something.